So hi there, I'm just going to share a little bit about the Hayzine that I've just created here from a flip magazine. So I've created this flip magazine, and there'll be a link actually in the description below. And I just wanted something to take on holiday with me, with some quotes, some creative ideas, some things for traveling, things to reflect on, but also a bit of a soul pages process and some arty ideas. And also there's some links there to the YouTube channel and what have you. But yeah, so I wanted this for myself, and I have just got back from holiday, so I took this all with me. And I each day I started working on the magazine, from the magazine, to create my own journal. So it was like a companion, if you like. And I think before I went, I actually created the actual journal and I seeded the pages. And so now this is actually what the end result is. I think this was maybe day 4 I did the cover. So yeah, so this is before I left. Actually, I did a soul pages process with a Brahe, which is where you get a spirit animal and you do sort of some designs in it, which is very, very cool. And there was a bit of a visualization that went with that, so it just felt like it really, really belonged in there. And then I just couldn't resist starting on my journal, and so before I even went, I actually, after seeding the pages, I actually had been watching something on YouTube, and so yeah, this sort of page happened. But after that, this was really the first page, and I was fascinated with these albrahis, and I decided on the journey down to take a notice of the animals that I saw. And so I saw lots of rabbits, and then some birds, and something else. Must have been a deer, I think. And I decided to just create a little design there. And then we went out for a happy hour. And so I was really, really fascinated with these kind of containers that had small plants in it. So just in some context, just put that to the side there. We also, when we go away, often you find sort of books and things, and so I found this magazine on collectives, which is around working together, which was really interesting. This little book here was about colouring in for clear thinking, which was actually an Aboriginal book that it was, you know, secondhand. I just picked it up. I hadn't even realised what it was for, but it was actually, the idea is to use your thoughts will improve when colouring in this book. We drew all these beautiful designs and are sharing them with you to help you reach a harmonious state of mind. And that's a traditional Marinka Burton is a traditional healer in Australia. So I found that was really, really, so I did use a bit of that, and some of the designs and things from here were really interesting as well. So yeah, when you go on holiday, of course you do come across things that you wouldn't normally come across. So, and I did have these pockets already, and each day I did a little tiny bit of journaling and placed them in there. And I had a thing around listening out for quotes, things that people said. And where we went out for dinner, this dad was trying to entice his little boy to eat his greens. And so he said, eat your basil leaf and become a rugby player. Did you see how big you've got now just by having one leaf? So, yeah. And then there was some magical coincidence that happened, because I happened to be just looking on my phone, and I saw how this mum had dried these flowers out in the microwave and used sellotape to create these little kind of captures of dried flowers, and they looked very similar to what was at the restaurant where we were going. So I was kind of fascinated, so I did those. and got inspiration also from going to a local gallery. So all of that was in the Hazine actually, and was in the quest journal. This day was really just like a reflection, a message in the bottle. So there is a little message in the bottle. You know, sometimes when you go on holiday, you have some things go on, and you think, gee, you know, what do you do with that? Or you see things, you know, and they're just really unusual kind of things. And we were staying on the beach, or near the beach, and so there was this beautiful view, and I just wanted to do a very sensitive picture around that. And also I kind of take note of the kind of things we watch. You know, TV's around, so we would watch TV at night time, and you know, just took a quote, you know, another day in paradise, you know, just capturing things as they went. And so here you can see these, I had come across that book that I was, the Colouring Towards Clear Thinking book, and I started thinking, oh, right, I'll use some of that. I hadn't actually realised what an amazing book that was. This was actually a walk that we'd taken. Again, I used the dice and this little list of, you know, how to get a page happening, and through the dice, and it sort of makes some cutouts and draw what you see and find some patterns and what have you. So yeah, and I think the quote for that day is chase the vision, not just the moment. So yeah, and yeah, it's kind of cool, So each day I just did a page. Sometimes I did more, just depending, you know, sometimes the weather wasn't very good, and you know, and sometimes I used cutouts from the books that I was working with, and sometimes I even prepared the background the night before, not knowing what we were going to do. We were pretty loose in what we were deciding to do. This was really interesting. We got into the Batman series, and the Joker asks, what do you do when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? And that whole idea of chance and chaos was being sort of gently dealt with, if you like. And I also had the idea of perhaps, you know, I was taking note of things that I was doing, so for the next quest journal, and I decided to have a look at it from an art perspective or creativity perspective, where shadows were. So I just started, in this page, I started exploring that as well. So it's a bit of a mix-up, really. Some of it's using the Hazine that I've got, and the Holiday Quest, and sometimes in the prompts, and sometimes I'm using just, well, this feels right, or I was using the lines but that were already in the page. I got really interested in this healing and colouring in. Yeah, getting inspired by things you hear and see. And also, yeah, it was interesting then, you know, sometimes you pick up magazines, and that one about the collective was interesting, about, you know, working with other people. It's so much better for us. We find we've got different perspectives and get different ideas. And I think the same thing happens when we go away. You know, you have to sometimes go away. So think bold, think big. And I just like the colours. It was more the colours. And it was because these colours were something I hadn't used yet in the book, and I was kind of a little bit interested in colour as well. I do love this one. This was really interesting. Beyond, for the dreamer, beyond the usual limits of conventional thought or action, imaginative, necessity, courage, and daring challenge. And this was where I'd had something and I took it away, and then you get this really nice effect. So again, while you're away, you find some nice extra mixed media ideas as well. Again, this was actually a seeded page. I'd already, put some designs on it. These doors were little kinds of good things as well, interesting. And here's a basil plant. You get this magical coincidence that went on. Be bold and be proud. I use that as a bit of a touch phrase. And switching off the daily grind, it can be quite tough at times. And so, yeah, going away is really, really good. So, yeah, there we go. So I just wanted to share that, and yeah, and hope that you've enjoyed that, and maybe you'll be inspired as well. Okay, well, thank you very much. Bye.